Well, I guess I have to talk about this because it's my job. Here we go. Thanks to 25 white male congressmen and 1 white female governor, Alabama has just effectively outlawed abortion. The only exception is in the case that the pregnancy threatens the life of the mother, like with an ectopic pregnancy. There are no exceptions for rape. So, for instance, if a 12-year-old girl were to be raped by a man, she would be forced to carry the pregnancy to term and have her rapist's baby. If she attempts to get an abortion, then any doctor who tries to help her would face 10 to 99 years in prison, the same sentence that her rapist would face were he actually convicted, which, let's be fair, he probably wouldn't be. I feel like Cassandra, if Cassandra also had an army of other Cassandras loudly shouting along with her, all of whom were just ignored or defeated by a corrupt political system. For many years now, I have talked about how conservative Christian Republicans, mostly men, want to make abortion illegal. I've talked about how they mostly failed at the federal level, and so they instead get their wins at the state level, pushing laws further and further, more and more extreme. And I've talked about how the right were allowed to walk over the spineless Democrats in Congress in order to prevent a liberal judge from being appointed to the Supreme Court, and instead ensuring that a vile, drunk frat boy gets in, so that when they use their new extreme state laws to challenge Roe v. Wade, they will win and overturn it. Alabama has actually passed the worst abortion law in the United States since Roe v. Wade, and so this absolutely was specifically written to go to the Supreme Court to vote on its legality. That is years away, since first it needs to be challenged in the lower courts before being pushed up to the Supreme Court, and even then the Supreme Court needs to agree to hear it, which they definitely will if they have the majority and think that they can overturn it. But look on the bright side, it might be tied up in the lower courts for so long that maybe Brett Kavanaugh will die of a heart attack or cirrhosis. Just kidding. Evil men live forever because the universe is cold and uncaring and indifferent to us. And also those men often have a lot of money and power that affords them access to healthcare that they actively deny others. The other good news, though, is that even a lower court judge can temporarily stop this law from taking effect once a lawsuit is filed. And currently, Planned Parenthood and the ACLU are preparing to do just that. Here are some fun facts about Alabama. In addition to being the third poorest state, it's the least educated state in the country. 50. It's the 50th state in the country in terms of education. So already we know they do not actually give a shit about children. In that category, they're also they have the 9th most teen pregnancies and the 5th highest infant mortality rate. It's basically a garbage can. I'm sorry if you live there, but it is. And now the women who live there, so some of the poorest, least educated people in the country, are going to be forced to either give birth to unwanted children or risk killing or hurting themselves in an attempt to achieve an illegal abortion. Because again, as I've stated repeatedly, the data tells us that outlawing abortion does not reduce the rate of abortions. People still get abortions in the same numbers, but they turn to more dangerous methods. So outlawing abortions actually increases the number of deaths you've caused. So even if you hate abortion and you want it to end, if you care at all about reality, then you would never outlaw it. You would increase your efforts to educate people about safe sex. You would increase access to birth control. You would increase access to affordable health care. Boom. Just like that, abortions go down and everybody's happy. So know this, if Alabama's law takes effect, more women will die. The same number of fetuses will die as before, but now more women will die too. And this is truly about controlling women's bodies, in case you were wondering, rather than saving lives. I know we know this, but it's still delightful when they really spell it out for us, like Alabama State Senator Clyde Chambliss did He outright stated that this law will only apply to pregnant women and not to people fertilizing and then throwing away eggs for IVF treatment. Why the difference? Both are fertilized eggs. Both in your definition are human lives. One you're allowed to throw in the trash can and one you can't because it's inside a woman's body. This is about controlling women, full stop. And it's not just women with unwanted pregnancies who are going to be affected by this. It's any person suspected of taking abortion drugs who can be investigated, which will include every single person who suffers a miscarriage, which looks indistinguishable from an abortion. Yes, even to doctors. Imagine having a pregnancy that you wanted and then having to rush to the hospital to deal with an unexpected miscarriage. You've lost this child you've been dreaming about, and now you're dragged into an interrogation room to answer for your possible crime. Maybe you're arrested. Maybe you have to hire a lawyer. It's honestly horrifying. And by the way, you are one of the poorest people in the country. Many people are pointing out that the law is so extreme that it's too extreme even for Pat Robertson, who said as much on his television show. Before we go around congratulating that huge asshole, who, by the way, has aged to the point that he looks exactly like that racist puppet that Jeff Dunham has. And also, by the way, I forgot Jeff Dunham's name, so I had to Google racist ventriloquist and it came up immediately. Anyway, the Alabama abortion ban is not too extreme for Pat Robertson's liking. Robertson's problem isn't the ethics of forcing a 12-year-old rape victim to bear her rapist baby. His problem is that punishing a doctor for 99 years in prison, it's too much for the Supreme Court to actually agree with. He would prefer a less severe law only to improve its chances of making it through the Supreme Court. Because even Samuel Alito might hesitate before saying that it's constitutional to let a 12-year-old bear her rapist baby or else punish her doctor for 99 years. Robertson is voicing a real concern amongst forced birthers. Ultimately, yes, they do want this law to happen nationwide. Yes, they want women to die rather than access abortions. Yes, they want rape victims to bear their rapists' babies. But they want to take the most strategic path possible to get there, and they're afraid that shooting for the moon is going to screw them over. So don't feel like there are some moderate conservatives out there who are going to save us. They're not. We need to support Planned Parenthood. We need to support abortion funds like Yellow Hammer that allow women in Alabama to get abortion care. And we need to vote. We need to vote. We need to vote these people out of office, not just in Alabama, but nationwide. Because yes, this is happening nationwide. If this law doesn't hit the Supreme Court, then the one they're planning in other states, like in Georgia, will. I don't care if I sound like a broken record at this point. We need to fight, and we need to fight now.